Learning is a sensory experience, and the more sensation we can create and the clearer the sensation we can create, the more effectively we can help swimmers learn skills. And in this video, I'm going to show you one of my favorite strategies to make that happen. Hi everyone, Andrew here, helping you help your swimmers get faster. Contrast training is a concept originating in sprint, track, and field training where they use different types of resistance, overloading, and underloading in order to create speed. We're going to use that same concept in order to create improvements in skill, and improvements in skill are going to lead to improvements in speed. While this is a strategy that's typically been used to enhance physiological outputs, we're going to use it to enhance technical outputs. Let's check it out. So learning is a sensory process, and swimmers need to be able to feel in order to be able to learn. And so better athletes tend to have more awareness, and so they tend to learn faster and they tend to learn better. For those athletes, a simple stimulus can be all that's necessary in order to get the change that we want. But less skilled athletes, they typically need more help. Unfortunately, most learning strategies are pretty cognitive in nature. It's more of a do this, do that process where swimmers are instructed to perform skills in a certain way, trying to mimic those skills and trying to get into certain positions at certain times. And while this can be effective for certain individuals in certain circumstances, these type of strategies don't speak the language of movement. And the language of movement is sensation. If swimmers can't feel it, they're not going to be able to change it. So we have to create situations where they're better able to feel what they need to do and how to do it. If we can create stronger sensation, we can create bigger change. One of the big challenges with creating skills, especially in swimmers, is that they have a lot of repetitions under their belt. Whenever someone's learning a new skill, they can usually make progress pretty fast because everything is new. When they've done the same thing over and over and over again, it's a lot harder to create change because there's a lot less variation in what they're feeling. So most swimmers have performed a lot of laps. Everything's going to feel the same. They're not going to feel subtlety, and they're going to struggle to create change as well. So in order to get change, they need new input in order to create new output. The older they get, the more ingrained those skills they are, the more that they've experienced, and so there's a lot less novelty, and therefore they're much more stuck in their skills. So to break them out of that, to get them out of that rut, we have to provide them with a novel stimulus, we have to provide them with novel sensation, and when we can do, that's going to make it a lot more likely that they can create change because they have new information to work with, and when they have new information, new sensation, now they can learn how to swim differently. One of my favorite strategies to make that happen is contrast training. And so if we can change the input, we can change what they feel, we're going to get better output, we're going to get different output. So what we want to do is have them swim in a novel context and then swim normally. And we're going to go back and forth between those, trying to create situations where they can feel better skills and then have the chance to apply it. So rather than just doing the same thing over and over again, we're going to get novel stimulus and then try to apply it. Novel stimulus and then try to apply it. It's the contrast between something new, something different, and the regular, the old, that magnifies awareness of the opportunity to swim in more effective ways. And you just repeat that multiple times in order to accelerate that cycle of change. And in doing so, there are a lot of different options. We can use all sorts of different training aids. We can use all sorts of different types of resisted swimming. We can use all sorts of different hand postures like closed fists, upside down paddles, stuff like that. And of course, we can use all sorts of drills. And beyond that, we can combine all these different options and use an almost infinite number of combinations. And that's going to mean a whole lot more opportunities to help swimmers feel new ways of moving through the water and then give them chances to apply that new awareness when they're actually swimming their regular stroke. So instead of doing the same thing over and over and over again, we're having them consistently contrast what they're doing in order to provide some novel input, which allows them to create some novel output, which means better skills. So how do you make this even more effective? Well, you can add performance elements. So whatever that contrast is, use speed, use stroke count, use stroke rate, use different combinations of the three, and challenge them to perform in different ways. That alone is going to create contrast, but when it's done on the back of the previous interventions that we discussed, it's going to be even more effective. You can also use multiple contrasts at the same time. So different training aids, different resistance, different hand postures, different drills. You can use different contrasts within the same categories. So for instance, paddles and then fins would be an example, or a parachute and then a power tower, or a parachute and then a stretch cord, or closed fist and then pinch paddles, or different types of drills depending on the particular skill. And you can also do between categories. So you could do fins and then a parachute, or paddles and then a stretch cord, or whatever it is. It's having lots of different contrasts, and that's going to change the input that swimmers are experiencing, which means they can change how they're swimming. So you want lots of variation. Sometimes it's with intention. And what I mean by that is if I'm having someone swim with a closed fist, it's because I want them to use their forearm more effectively in that contrast. Or it can just be unintentional. I'm just going to have them use a lot of different hand positions because I just want them to do something different. And so you can create change intentionally, or you can just use variety for variety's sake, and that alone can be really effective. So regardless of how you contrast, by using different types of contrast and by using performance elements, you're going to get more out of the same thing. So here are 3 simple variations of the same set in which we apply contrast training in order to help swimmers improve their skill, in this case, breaststroke timing. So we're going to start off with 225s. The odds are 2 pulls, 1 kick. The evens are 2 kicks, 1 pull. And the purpose here is to separate the arms and the leg actions by adding an extra pull or adding an extra kick. And we're already using contrast by using 2 different drills and alternating between the 2 so that swimmers can feel the difference between the 2. Then they're going to go a 50 breaststroke. They're going to descend 1 to 4, 5 to 8 across the rounds. Now, to create even more contrast on those drills, the first variation of the set, we're going to change the training aids. The second variation, we're going to change the hand postures. And then the third set, we're going to change the performance expectations. So the first set, we're going to alternate between parachute, drag socks, weight belt, and no equipment. And each of those is going to feel very different. It's going to challenge the skills in different ways, and that's going to help swimmers learn. Same thing with the different hand postures. That's also going to change what they feel, what they experience, and it's going to influence what they learn. It's going to force them to do something different, and that means they have the chance to learn how to swim differently. Last set, we're going to change the performance expectations, so we'll go as few strokes as possible, then build, then minimize stroke count and time, and then fast. And again, that's forcing them to change, and we're already doing that on the background of using 2 different drills to help facilitate change as well. So a ton of different variation in all of these different examples. And in each case, we're creating contrast during those 225s, and then we give swimmers the chance to execute on that 50 breaststroke where they're trying to be better as they go through, and they're trying to put together whatever they learned during those 25s into their actual swimming. If you want to learn more about how to take your favorite drills, your favorite skill development strategies, and make them even more effective, check out the video above.